it up. What up, what up? Yeah. Grab your chair, put up a seat, yeah. Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. We just the dudes that you knew for poking holes in all these fables. Yeah. See, we're just some atheists that got questions like, why does God kill babies with cancer? Hopefully, you can bring some answers. We'll sit back and take notes. Go ahead. Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. Okay. Turn it up, turn it up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. And it's your boy Oz again and again. And we have our we have our great friend with us here, Dr. Joshua Bowen. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Excellent.
And anytime Dr. Josh actually gets to be on screen with us, he gets to enjoy the well, he probably enjoys it. It's probably annoying to you guys, but the continual advertisements of this particular book that comes up. And now we're actually going to get to talk to Dr. Josh tonight about the book. We did have one stream, kind of a pre-release stream, but I told Dr. Josh that now that it's out and people can get their hands on it, let's talk about it. Let's chop it up. But for those of you that don't know, there is this book out, and it's called The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament by Dr. Joshua Bowen. And I wish Biddy was here right now. It's volume 1. What's that mean? There's probably going to be a number 2. So be on the lookout. And I know there's an audiobook coming out too, right, Dr. Josh?
Yeah. It's in the works. It's a painstaking process, but and I'm not the fastest worker now, given the 2 more little ones running around here. So guess they're not running yet, but
yeah. And last time you were on, we were talking about that you and Megan were that time was approaching. But, first of all, congratulations to you and Megan on the 2 new beautiful babies added to the family. Congratulations, and glad they're home and everybody's feeling good and healthy.
Yeah. She's actually upstairs with them now. I was changing them, and I said, "What time is it?" And she's like, "It's 36 after." I was like, "Oh, okay." Trying to get that diaper changed real quick, but no, she's a champ. So
cool. And how's mom feeling?
She's tired. She's really, really tired.
Okay,
she's breastfeeding both, so that's quite a handful. And so we're sort of in a system now where I try to sleep upstairs next to the twins in the little bassinet that we have, and then she can go downstairs and sleep with her earplugs in for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I come downstairs when they wake up and say, "Hey, I'm so sorry." She makes her way back upstairs and feeds them for an hour almost. So
yeah. I've always said it, especially once I had children of my own, that there is not a more difficult job than being a mom. That is, I don't have the patience. I don't have I don't have the tenacity. It is watching a mother take care of their kids is that's an unbelievable responsibility and job.
Yeah. My big thing is I feel like I'm going to break them, because they're like, particularly as they're still preemies, it's like, but once they turn 2, I'm like, all right, just pile them all in, give them all to me. I got them. You go. So like Oliver, he was just down here before we went live. He snuck out. He climbs up on the counter, or up to the counter, and you turn around and look at him, and he goes, "I'm being sneaky." He picks up a cookie. Daddy, don't look at me. I'm being sneaky. Good.
And how are the older ones with the with the little babies? Are they trying to be helpful, or are they?
Yeah, our 14-year-old is super helpful. She does the dishes, and I got her mowing the lawn now out front. But yeah, she's anytime you need me to hold him, just let me know. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll wake you up at 3 this morning. And
Yeah, really.
she's like, oh, actually, you probably should handle that. It's probably safer. Yeah. But,
Yeah, actually, I don't want to hold him. No.
turns out.
All right. Well, Dr. Josh, I have a little quick 1-minute video here that I'll play of your new book, and then we'll get into it. How's that sound?
Awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you.
The Old Testament is a fierce battleground for atheists and Christian apologists. Slavery, failed prophecy. Did Moses write the Torah? Who has it right? The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament helps you figure it out for yourself. Dr. Josh's book has been called a masterclass in how to read and understand the Hebrew Bible on its own terms. Wants to know about the history and archaeology, or how to effectively engage with people about hot-button issues? The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament is for you. Whether you are looking to debate these problematic passages online or at your kitchen table, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, and you shouldn't go into a debate about the Bible without your copy of this book handy. Get yours on Amazon today.
Awesome.
Her voice, man, it's like all day. Just listen to it all day.
All day. Putting the link in the chat there for Amazon.
Thank you.
So if you haven't purchased it, I have no fucking clue why you haven't. But there's a link. Go purchase it. You can get it digital. You can get the. You can get this beauty.
It is pretty badass. I mean, like, so we did it. I always have them sitting here. So like the paperbacks that we put out are this size, and she was like, you know what? If we make it that size, it's going to be really like too much. So that's even. So it's a bigger book. Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, are we plugging a book here, or what are we doing?
But no, I actually, she did such a good job. I mean, any of the aesthetics, really any of the polish of the book, be it the manuscript or, how the diagrams, all the drawings, everything in it, it's all Megan. I mean, she makes it good. So buy it for her.
Buy it for Megan.
But it's still a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to go in. I was just getting ready to ask you that. So
sorry.
I know you're good. Last time we talked, you said it had popped back up to #1, and it was top of the ranks in several categories there. So where are you at in the different categories?
I think I looked at it yesterday, and I mean, that changes every day depending on, I guess, how many people buy it. But I think we were the Kindle version is the one that's selling the most, just because I think you can get it immediately. It's the big thing. So that is ranked out of however many millions of books are on Amazon as a Kindle. It's like 7,000.
Wow.
Which is pretty good. So it's #1 in atheism. It's #1 in, I think, Old Testament interpretation. #1 or #2 in Old Testament Hebrew Bible, something like that. So pretty exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a what do they call it for the top authors? The oh damn it just lost my brain. I was gonna make a big announcement and I just fucked it all up. What is it, Dr. Josh, when you have the number one seller for books?
Stamp or something, or a sticker, or
it's
no, I don't know.
Well,
it goes into Walmart. I don't
now I'm gonna Google it because I'm gonna do this correctly. I'm not gonna I'm not going to fuck this up. I'm creating dead air, and I always get on everybody else about creating dead air. Good job, Oz. Everybody give Oz a round of applause.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably sort of on par for you. You have all these problematic things. You're trying to figure out another way to defend evolution. Okay, so sitting here silently is that's sort of what we expect from a pervert like you, Oz. Okay.
And guess what? I was outthinking myself. It's just a bestseller. So, Jesus Christ, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a bestseller on screen with us tonight. #1 in atheism, #1 in, what did you say, Old Testament?
Yeah, let me just look. I'll just pull it up. Because again, it shifts. So what I'm going to do is just go to Amazon. Type in Joshua Bowen. In case that was
sneaky.
All right. It's a #1 bestseller in atheism, #1 in Christian Old Testament criticism, and #2 in Hebrew Bible Old Testament.
All right. Well, just
and
remember,
it is ranked
Dr.
7,777. That's what it's ranked.
Out of how many millions that are available?
I don't know.
That's
many.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. And it's all you guys. I mean, frankly, it's all everybody buying the book. I mean, that's what drives it. So, thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We only promo it like once a month or so.
Yeah.
But we have a best-selling author, and this is probably the only one that's crazy enough to come on here and talk to us. But we have a bestseller, Dr. Josh Bowen. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so a few serious questions, and then we'll have some fun, and then I think we'll open the lines up if people want to call and ask questions specifically about the book, or maybe why you wanted to write that book with that title, which is kind of what I'll dig into a little bit. But for those that don't know, I'll let Dr. Josh share this, so I'm not telling a story for him. But Dr. Josh was a believer. Those are not aware. So, Dr. Josh, I did hear in a couple of recent interviews you talk about this, which is going to lead me into some of my questions. But you were a believer. You went to get your, I believe, your bachelor's in theology. Is that correct?
In religion, yeah.
In religion, that's right. And you took that next step, and kind of you went into it gung ho, where it was like, no, I'm going to go turn the world upside down. I'm going to be a world changer, and you went in with that mindset. Can you tell us what were some of the moments or experiences that started to kind of shift you being a world changer for God to now you're helping to change the minds of people on the skeptical sides, where it's like, actually, when we analyze the history, we analyze this book, it's not, some of these things are not what we thought it was. So what were some of those moments?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most pivotal time, of course, for me was my first year at Johns Hopkins, during my PhD program. And I've told this story about the details of that, and sitting in the history of Syro-Palestine, and hearing about the Philistines, for example, and again, because I was coming into that, because I had been brought up in a very fundamentalist tradition, and the historicity and inerrancy of the biblical text wasn't like a possible component, or something that was ancillary. It was absolutely essential to my understanding of to my faith as a whole. So if you pointed out and people, I hear this all the time, right, on social media, particularly with more fundamentalist people. If you could just show me one contradiction, I'll become an atheist, or I'll stop being a Christian or whatever. And that's the kind of person that I was. So there were no contradictions. There were no problems. You might have had to look a little bit or think about it, but there were no ultimately contradictions. And so that first semester, learning about just the history of the region, then learning about the wide variety of Sumerian and Akkadian literary texts that obviously greatly predate the biblical texts and traditions. It got me to a point where initially it was like, oh, well, there are historical problems with the Old Testament. And that was enough for me, right? Because I feel like I hope that I'm honest enough with myself that if I actually do think something and then that gets challenged or changed, challenged in a way that I can't hold to it anymore, that I'll actually follow through with, my conviction. So I became an atheist. And then after, a couple of months, maybe a year, I'm not sure, it stopped really mattering at all to me. And so that was just all about getting my PhD and studying the ancient Near East. It wasn't really a huge deal. It wasn't really until I got back online or, got onto social media that the question even came up. And it was because I saw, atheists being picked on and bullied in these conversations. And so I think that process of sort of a strong historical problem that I saw, series of historical problems, coupled with the fact that the Hebrew Bible looked like just another ancient text among other ancient texts. I think those were the things that sort of put me down the path that has, from which I have not returned.
From which I have not returned. Was there one like story in the Bible, or maybe time period in the Bible where you were fact checking and going through all that was maybe the dagger, or the nail in the coffin? Was there like one of those that just, it was a bullet?
No, I mean, so the one that sticks out, and of course, if you know me, Oz, and anybody that's knows me, my MS is amazing, and it keeps me from remembering a lot of things. So when something does stick in my mind, it's the one I usually go to. So the Philistines, that's the one that sort of stands out. Not so much because it was such a big deal, but because it was just something that it was so clear to me. And it was sort of the end of a succession of things that I was fighting against. So that history, that history of Syro-Palestine class was, it's a year-long course every week. And so we started very early in the region, and, we had just moved down through the second millennium, into and through the Amarna period. And, if you don't know what that is, if you get the book, I explain it. Talk about the history of the ancient Near East in chapter 2. But sorry, that was shameless.
That book, guys. That book. That one right there. So it was just one thing after the other that was like, man, this stuff doesn't seem to line up very well. And then I got to the Philistines, and it was like, oh my, like you read through the Philistines as they're portrayed in the book of Genesis, and it's like, wait a second, this doesn't work. This just doesn't work. Like, we know a lot about the Philistines and when they arrived in Canaan. And while there are obviously debated aspects to it, it's like, this just doesn't work. And so that became sort of I don't know if it was the straw that broke the camel's back, or if it was just enough of a catalyst to, move me away from it. But the Philistines is one that stands out. Okay. No, that's good. And the last couple of interviews, the shows I've heard, John, where it was more interview based. I started thinking that because I think a lot of there's an accumulation, or there's like I said, the crock pot type, effect where it's a slow cook or slow burn. But there's usually, even though it was like there's kind of that, usually there's that final nail, where it's like you'd already been working in that direction, and then there's that one where it's like, nope, I'm done. I can't do this.
Yeah. And for me, I hated it because, this idea of, the Romans 1:18, suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. I think that's what it is, 1:18, 1:20. It's like, I get, because I would have said that to people that had left the faith, right? Or that were not yet in the faith. And the problem, I think, with that sort of thinking is, besides the fact that it's meant to be sort of like a safety net. If somebody leaves, that was expected. Like, we expect, and they were never really saved. And so it works out. But for me, this idea that I wanted to sin, that I was just trying to think of a way that I could get away from God because I didn't like his rules, or, sorry to disappoint. I cried. Probably for weeks, about losing my faith. It was horrible. And I, even, especially perhaps leading up to it, it was like, this has been my whole life. And it's been not just from a social standpoint or something, but everything that I was, everything that I believed, all the hope that I had, everything that the God that I trusted in, those, I no longer had them. And it was a very sad time. And I'll be honest, I've said this before, but I'm still sad about it, and it's been 10 years now. But it still saddens me. And so, this idea that, everybody that's an atheist just wants to get away from God. Sorry, that's just not the case. I'm sure that does happen. But for me, I left the faith kicking and screaming. So it's tough.
Yeah. And not to go into your and I's deconversion stories, but that is one thing I think people that know me well know that's what's up, Patrick? That know me well know there's not very many things at this point that really ruffle my feathers. Like most, they just, it's in one ear and out the other, as far as, criticisms or assertions that they have no no real reason to say them or make accusations or whatever. But when they make those kind of comments that, the first one, you just never believed.
Yeah.
You were never actually saved. You just love to sin, Oz. You love to sin, Dr. Josh. You didn't really love God.
Yeah.
You love yourself.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I try to do now is I pause and I'm like, no, actually, the most correct thing you just said there is, yes, I do love myself, and I've learned that it's healthy to love myself.
Yes.
It's healthy to love myself, and when I look in the mirror, not look at myself like I'm filthy rags or a piece of shit. So yes, you're right in that. You're right in that. But to attempt to tell Dr. Josh or myself or many, many, many others that have deconstructed and deconverted that we were never, quote unquote, saved, or we never believed, you are out of your mind. You're out of your mind, and you are being so dishonest, and you're being so presumptuous, because I know it's just you and I on screen right now, so I'll only talk with or about you and I, but many others that we gave our lives to this. We gave our entire lives to this, and we sacrificed everything in the name of the good book, the gospel, the message, and seeing people saved and set free and all that. So to try to even attempt to do that is a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And stop. Like, Christians, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. Just
And I get the rationale. I really do. And I know I say that a lot, but like, I get where they're coming from, because again, I would have said it, Oz, you probably would have, or at least you would have thought it. I would have said it. Because I was an asshole, but you know, they're doing internal critiques on the biblical text, or at least theological interpretations and structures, is tricky, right? Because, you know, those that have sort of stood the test of time have done so because they account for the inconsistencies. You know, maybe it's not the greatest accounting for the problem, but it accounts for it. So, you know, we have something like the problem of evil. That's, you know, for probably most Christians, it doesn't even reach the level of, they're not even going to think about what the logical problem of evil. They're only going to think about the evidential problem, because it's like, well, I mean, there is no logical problem of evil because we don't understand the mind of God. And God is, you know, his ways are not our ways. They are so much higher, and he has a, you know, morally justified reasons for doing what he does, and we just can't know them. So there is no contradiction. And I think that in a lot of ways, many of these sort of theological responses to former believers fall under that category, where it's not something that I would say to a Christian, look, that can't be right. Right? Because is it possible? Let's just think, like, is it possible that I really truly did believe for 26 years that I believed, but I didn't believe? I guess that's possible, right? Is it possible that when I was standing in that jail, giving the gospel on that Christmas Eve, in that Christmas Eve sermon at 8:00 at night, before the inmates, and telling that story about how, let's look at Philippians 2 and see how Jesus, who is God, God himself, and he humbled himself, and not just to become a man, but to become a man who would die on a cross for us. It's like, I always gave that example of Coming to America, and Hakeem, standing there mopping the McDonald's floor, right, and having he's outside changing out the trash, and that guy, the Soul Glow air, throws the strawberry milkshake at him, and it goes all over him. Here he is. He's the Prince of Zamunda, right? And he's sitting there mopping this floor, and he's doing it for these righteous reasons. It's possible that as I'm telling people that and drawing that analogy and watching people get saved, and like going home to my wife, it was so great. Like 7 people gave their lives to Jesus tonight. It was so amazing. It's possible that I was just duped and I didn't really believe. I wasn't really saved. Is that possible? Sure. Does that seem likely, though? Not to me.
But well, I'll ask you, and I'll give my answer first. According to, especially in the New Testament, when it gets into belief and faith and all of those things, I can tell you right now that I 100% believed. Dr. Josh, did you, to yourself, in your own mind, did you believe at that point?
Oh, of course, no doubt.
Okay, so no one can take that from us.
Yeah.
Just like when Christians now say, well, personal experience. Well, cool, I can't take that from you. I can't remove that from your mind or your reality. So it's the same thing. I did believe, and on our Discord last night, the night before, kind of what you were just talking about. One of the things that that I even had to talk to my therapist about that really, really fucked me up was all of the times, whether it was in front of youth groups or doing inner city ministry, but mainly when I was in the Christian hip hop group that we were in, the hundreds or thousands of young people that we were in front of, and I gave altar calls telling them that if they don't do X, Y, and Z, they're going to go and burn in a hell forever. Forever.
Yeah.
And that fucked me up for so long. And you shared it earlier about being in tears. There were many nights that there were tears, there was guilt, there was shame, there was, loneliness, there was all that. No, anybody that thinks it's comfortable and easy just to go from believing and being a theist, being a Christian, to going to skepticism, then agnosticism, and whether they stay there or go to atheism, it's not easy. So stop, Christians, the ones that throw that out there, please stop, because you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea. And I'll say this real quick, and we can get back into the book here. But Patrick made a great comment. To be charitable to those people, the reason they say those things is largely to protect themselves and their own beliefs. If Oz and Josh can lose their faith, what about mine? And for that, Patrick, that's you hit the bullseye. You hit the goddamn bullseye. And I think that's why there's a lot of folks that don't want to actually approach that. Not only do they not want to actually have honest conversations, they don't even want to approach the topic. There's a lot of people that don't even want to approach it. Yeah.
What's that monk episode where there's a cult and the cult leader is suspected of having committed a murder, and so Adrian ends up infiltrating, actually getting sucked in to the cult, right? Because of how pliable he was as a character in the show. And when he broke free, there was a lot of, I guess what could be described as cognitive dissonance, right? I mean, they saw these things, that can't be right. And I think this is part of the mentality, right? In order to maintain the consistency of that particular, theological system. And I wouldn't say that in any way, I wouldn't say that all Christians hold to this, all different, Christian denominations hold to this, or theological interpretations hold to this sort of thing. It's actually pretty narrow, I think. But it's sort of a, wait a minute, if that can happen, then all these other things fall apart. Well, we know they all can't fall apart. So there has to be a reason. And look, this verse, or these two verses, give us sort of a rationale for why they left. He went out from among us because they were never of us. So, and they suppressed the truth and unrighteousness. And so, so it all fits in their system. And I just think that one of the things, and then I'll stop, but the thing that I do, the way that I think, the way that I approach these things so often, particularly here on social media, is to come at this from the approach of, look, I'm not here to try to disprove your position, because there are very few cases that I feel like I can muster enough absolute, uncontrovertible, deductive proofs, whatever, to make it so that a person has to just stop in their tracks and go, I have nothing to say back, because even when they're there, they still have something to say back. My approach is more, look, does this make sense to you? How many ways do you have to come up with theological rationalizations to make this still work? Maybe it does. Maybe it still works. But does that seem reasonable to you? That millions of years are, of animal deaths serve some greater purpose, or all these, what are they, the types of evil. I'm sorry, I'm so tired. The gratuitous evil.
Okay.
The gratuitous evil in the world somehow serves a purpose that we couldn't deal with just a little bit less, because it's part of God's grandest. Is that possible? Sure. But does that seem likely? Does that seem reasonable to you? Or does this other paradigm this other interpretive model seem to make more sense? And that's of course, that's, where I came out. And I think that's probably an effective way. Not so much to get people to deconvert, because I'm not really interested in that. I just want people to stop restricting the rights of others because of their beliefs.
And you can just say yes, no to this. But I think all the conversations we've had, I think we share this. We want to challenge beliefs and or bad ideas.
Yeah. That's all I want to do. My own included.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my own included.
Yeah.
So,
if
maybe my own especially.
Yeah. And yeah, hopefully all of us are like, that's how I am. Like, if I have a bad belief or a bad idea, fucking somebody tell me, because I already wasted 30 years on a bad idea. Yeah. I'm not trying to waste another 30, But before we get back into the book here, Dr. Josh, it's amazing. It's amazing how the Holy Spirit works. It's amazing how the Holy Spirit works, because this is just going to unfold right here. So somebody first asked in the chat, what is it that Oz's shirt says? They can't see it because of the mic. This is Wu-Tang, cream, cash rules everything around me. Okay. And then there was a couple other comments about our guest tonight. Our friend Dr. Josh may or may not have been on a certain show. Was it 2 days ago now, Dr. Josh, right?
I don't even know what today is. So that sounds right. It was Wednesday.
Okay, 3 days ago. Yeah. And I'll have it in the chat here in a second. But for anybody that's familiar with the Atheist Network group, Atheist Roundtable, and myself, everyone knows that I am a lifelong Wu-Tang Clan fan. Like that's my shit. It's still on my top of my playlist on my iPhone. Like that's where I go. As soon as I get in my car, I either start with Triumph or any of the Method Man shit from Tikal. So like that's or Judgment Day. I forgot about Judgment Day. I gotta start with Judgment Day every once in a while. But Wu-Tang. Dr. Josh, and I just put the link in the chat, was just on with a member of the Wu-Tang Clan. So here I just muted Dr. Josh. I'm a little jelly right now. But he got to go on and talk with Killer Priest from the Wu-Tang Clan for hours. So I unmuted Josh. I love you, Dr. Josh, and I have no jealousy, no envy whatsoever. I'm glad you got to have that experience. And if you haven't watched it, go check it out. But yeah, did you have fun with Killer Priest?
Oh, it was like surreal and amazing. He's just such a nice guy. I don't know, he's just so down to earth. But I felt so awful because I grew up fundamentalist evangelical Christian, right? So like I was the kid that when I was like 14 or something, 15, I had a poster that you could get from the Christian music store, right? And it said on the left-hand side, if you like Nirvana, then you'll like, then this Christian band over on the other side. It was like the one-to-one correspondence. Do you like Wu-Tang? You'll like. So I used to listen to like these Christian rap artists, SS Mob, T-Bone, like these are the people I used to listen to. And Murdering Devils and all those sorts of things, which was essentially just rap, but just about devils, right? It was like there wasn't this big Christian component to it, yeah, but yeah, there it is. So I wanted to listen to Wu-Tang. Now I did listen to Old Dirty Bastard. Let me clear my throat. But that was about that and is it Method Man and Redman that did that Bugs Bunny movie, the Space Jam.
Space Jam. Yep.
Yeah. So like that was my exposure. Because I just wasn't allowed to, either by my parents and then but ultimately by my own conscience. Right. I wasn't allowed to. And so I always tell the story about how I try to convince my mother and myself that it was okay. So like, look, Eric Clapton, Tears in Heaven. This is a Christian song, And she's like, yeah, if your conscience will allow you to listen to that. So
thanks, Ma.
So I'm on this interview, and the producer says to me, "Yeah, so what are some of your favorite Killah Priest tracks? Just a couple, And I was like, I'm like the person that invites somebody on and then doesn't like read their book, and I'm going to interview them on their book. That's what it felt like. Oh, it felt so awful. So I've been listening to
that's a little bit that to your defense, being a whether they ever invite me to be or not, considering myself to be a part of the Wu-Tang Clan, as much money I've spent on their material, their shirts, their hats, their all that, I would not expect anyone to show up on a week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, notice to come on a show and like be able to know names of tracks, be able to drop bars, like not any of that, especially when the show had nothing to do with like the art of hip hop, right?
I've been listening to Liquid Swords, so that's been good. The thing is, I don't listen to a lot of music. See, this is the problem. I had a bunch of music on my phone, and I didn't listen to it. But when I got my new vehicle a couple years ago, every time I got in, it would sync up with my phone and start just playing, whatever the last song that I listened to was. And I got so tired of it because I wanted to listen to like either nothing or listen to an audiobook or something. So I just deleted all my music off of it. That was the only way I could figure out how to not have it start up. So I don't listen to music really at all.
So do you think you're going to go back onto a show?
He asked me to come back on.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I'm gonna help you. Okay. I'm gonna help you. So next time when, cause I noticed he talks for a few minutes and then he introed you on, do one of two things. And this will win the crowd. This will win the goddamn crowd. Either come out with the Wu-Tang chant, and it's very simple. All you gotta do is Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang. You can do that. Or you can do the most popular Wu-Tang chant there is, and that is Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Wu-Tang Clan ain't like, you will win the crowd of it. Like, oh, all right, cracker. All right, cracker. You did your homework this time. I feel you.
I will definitely wear, I told him that I went and bought a Wu-Tang t-shirt because I saw it when I was out and I was like, all right, yeah. So I have that, but of course I was wearing my jacket, so I couldn't really wear it. But yeah, Wu-Tang, I felt awful.
Wu-Tang is forever. Wu-Tang is forever.
They were so nice though. And the audience was really nice. I'm not the most exciting guest in the world, right? But they were very kind. It was great.
Who the fuck said that? Who the fuck said that? Tell them to holler at Oz. Tell them to holler at Oz. There's a couple more questions that I want to get into about the book. But before we do, there was a couple of questions in the chat, and yes, you did hear correctly. We have been talking about this book right here, Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament by Dr. Joshua Bowen. That's that good-looking guy you see on the screen there, and it's volume 1. That was the other question. It is volume 1, as you can see there.
Mm-hmm.
And that means there's more than likely going to be a volume 2. And for some of you, I saw in there, no, we're not talking about volume like on your iPhone, like turn the volume up. That means there's going to be another edition to the book.
I am writing.
Doesn't mean this one gets louder. It just means there's
Right. I'm writing the Exodus chapter in my spare time now, which is unfortunately pretty sparse because the current situation in this household. But I will get it done. I'm planning. I'm having to write all of it in my spare time, but I'm hoping to get it done by next year. So,
BigZebra.com says Dr. Josh is the most exciting guest for the ladies.
because they're like trying to fall asleep and they can listen to me drone on about something, and
it's the hair.
Yes, clearly.
And Atheist Mo said, "What book? Oh, hold on.
You guys are too much.
There's this cool book. Actually, it's not cool. It's fucking awesome. The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament by Dr. Joshua Bowen. That sexy guy you see on the screen. That's what it is right there. And Sean Alexandre, I saw that you just asked the same question, so I'm just going to leave it up. This is the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament by Dr. KCA Randy. I saw your question. Dr. Josh is the author. The author. And it's volume 1. So there's another one coming. Whether you fucking like it or not.
You're amazing. Thank you.
So one or two more questions, and then we'll open some phone lines up because I think that would be fun if some people want to call in and either have some fun or ask questions about the book. But I was thinking about it as I've been reading through it, and I've already told you this. My ADHD brain sometimes I'll get to a certain point. It's like I need to go back. I need to go back and make sure I'm retaining. But when you were when I say pen to paper, I know you probably typed most of it out, but putting pen to paper and, once you settled on the title, and I want to focus on the Atheist Handbook. I think that's now being an atheist and an advocate and outspoken, very outspoken. I think that is amazing because I don't think there's enough material out there currently that does equip those that come out of Christianity.
Yeah.
Right. Because I remember I had one or two like quote unquote debates, if that's what you want to call it, coming out of Christianity. And I found myself in those conversations or debates where unfortunately all I knew was the Christian argument on for what we were talking about. And it was like, God damn it. Like I could argue their side like a motherfucker right now, but I feel myself keep going there because that's all I've had access to. So when you and you and I talked about that title, and when you said that, this is official, how do you feel about that? Like when you see that's your book, that's your baby. When you see that, what feeling or what emotion is tied to that? Because and I'll follow it up with how I would feel about it once I hear yours. But how do you feel about that? Because there has to be some importance there for you.
Yeah, I mean, when we published the to the Old Testament endorsed slavery book, one of the things that I realized pretty quickly was nobody understood the title. Maybe not nobody, but there were a lot of people on both sides of the debate that misunderstood the title. So, people that are like Christian apologists that are arguing for, it sounds so weird to say, arguing for slavery not being so bad in the Hebrew Bible, they would read it and think that I was saying what I was saying that it does. But then atheists would read it and they would think I was saying the opposite, right? So each side, it just wasn't clear, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make. And so I got a lot of comments from both sides that were like, you should look, just read it, and I didn't want to have that happen with this one. Because I remember like Matt Dillahunty held up the book the slavery book at one point, or mentioned it or something. And there were a lot of comments that came, that were like, oh yeah, probably just another, apologist trying to, whatever, argue for them. It was like, no. So it was ambiguous. So what I wanted to do was have a title that made it very clear who this book is for. Because I don't think that, Christian apologists don't shy away from, writing their books for their audience, right? And making that clear. Like A Case for Christ, I'm just the one that pops into my mind, but like Kenneth Samples up at Reasons to Believe just wrote another book. I can't remember the title now, but Christianity Cross-Examined. That's what it is. And so, it's unambiguous. So I wanted to make sure that it was clear, hey, this is for the atheist community. This is specifically for that. And the formatting of the book is sort of modeled very broadly, very generally, there are a series of books called the Oxford Handbooks to a bunch of different topics. So the Oxford Handbook to Biblical Law, or the Oxford Handbook to Cuneiform Culture, or the Oxford Handbook to whatever, Biblical Narrative. Just thinking of books that are on my shelf. And so it's sort of modeled broadly after that. And the point of it, it's supposed to be a book that is a one-stop shop. That's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a one-stop shop that if you come across the topic in this book, you're done. Like you're done in the sense that at that basic fundamental, discussing it with somebody for the basics of the argument, the key aspects of the argument, this is all you need to go to. Now there's tons of bibliography, there's all kinds of citations, that support that, but the information is meant to be there. So, for example, the chapter that's on Did Moses Write the Pentateuch? The chapter is not designed to arm you as a reader to know how the Pentateuch was actually formed. Like you're not going to walk away having a really good idea. Well, I think it was the documentary hypothesis because of the information that's in the book, or I think it's a supplementary hypothesis, or whatever. That's not what it was designed to do. The chapter is designed specifically so that you can say to somebody, Moses didn't write it. That's the point.
Yeah.
A single author did not put this thing together. And so it's very specific in that sense. The Ezekiel chapter, the prophecy against Tyre, you're not meant to walk away going, all right, well, I know what this means. Like theologically, I have a good way to explain this, this passage. Because I don't know that there is a good one, but what you're meant to walk away with is what was the prophecy about, and did it get fulfilled or not? So it's specific in many cases, but anyway, that's how it's designed. So yeah, I look at it and I think, like, I struggle. My family members will ask me, "Oh, you wrote a new book. What's the title?" And I still kind of balk a little bit. But eventually it's the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament, because I know that it's going to bother them that that's the title, because that's what it's about. But I think in order to be true to what the book is intended to do, and for the audience to be able to see the title and know what's coming, know what they're getting, I think seems like it was a good way to go.
No, thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad you were detailed in that, because what I'm going to say is very short, but you gave it a better explanation than I would have, because mine could probably be perceived differently, but I had the same. I would have had the same heart behind it if I had your your experience, your education, and that kind of thing, it would have been this book is here to be an aid, an aid, and to equip,
Yeah.
And to give you the information that otherwise you would have had to go to 10,000 different resources,
Yes.
to to find, and putting this together, and I'm sure you would probably say this or suggest this. There's probably things that are missed, that we could have hit better, could have focused on more or less.
Of course.
But we did the best we could do to put something together that you have the tools, you have the ammunition, you have the resources now needed to go into these conversations and know that you can be confident in in the information that you've gathered.
Yeah, I think Patrick actually said it beautifully in the comments. It's an authoritative starting point. That's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be, just like you said, it's so difficult to, in any field that you're not a specialist in, it's difficult to pick up a book and know, okay, is this good? Is this reputable? I mean, it seems like it's in a decent series, but is this one of these ones that got in here that's not really good? And so this is meant to be a place that if somebody says to you, oh, the book of Daniel is written in the 6th century, that chapter 5, I think it is, that's where you start. That's where you go. And it's meant to be a place that it gives you absolutely plenty to be able to finish reading it if you get the material that's in there. Like if you can understand the material that's in there and put yourself a nice little, set of notes together, you can go into a debate and do, I think, very, very well. Because this is what scholars say about this. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're interested in some specific nuance, about, well, according to the administrative text, which regnal year did Nabonidus come back from Tamain? Like, you're gonna get a little bit broadly about it, but that chapter you're gonna have to do more to get that very specific nuance. And but that's what the bibliography is for. So it's the place that this is the solid foundation upon which you can go out. If you just got this, I think you can go out and argue these topics very, very well, have meaningful conversations with people. But if you're interested in going deeper, the bibliography is there, the citations are there, the scholars are there, and they're reputable scholars that you can then build on. So that's what it was meant to be.
Awesome. And last question, and we'll talk a little bit about, when I say a little bit, just a few minutes about October, because that's going to be a blast. But the last question regarding the book, and this is one that I've been thinking about the last couple, day and a half or so since we confirmed this, and I don't think I've ever. I know I haven't ever asked it, because I heard you say something on a different show that was like, "Ooh, I want to ask this question." So going into Bible college and going into theology and religion and having that world changer mindset or mentality, which again I'm very familiar with, and that being downloaded or programmed into my brain. And then switching gears now to where you're at as an atheist, we can still be world changers, right? We can still make impact, but obviously it looks different. So if I could ask this, when you think about your this book, and even the other books or literature that you've put out there, when you think of world changer, and now through the lenses of a skeptic or an atheist, what does that look like? What do you hope when people read your books or go through your content, and they're listening and they're really digging in, taking notes and taking it serious? How what would you view as being a world changer or an impact maker?
I like watching or seeing how the arguments about slavery in the Hebrew Bible have sort of evolved over the past 2 years on in the social media circles that I've seen them discussed in. And the pattern that I've seen is that these really bad apologetic arguments don't really get brought up anymore. And it's because I think it like partly due to some of the stuff that I've done or some of the stuff that I've said, more about I've said, look, here are the scholars that talk about this. Let's look at what they have to say about it. But what that means is that it's become clear to, I think, most apologists that have taken that seriously, that they can't just do these same old arguments anymore, right? They have to either say, okay, I just need to look at this in a completely different way, or they have to say, well, I have to come at this from a new angle, a developed angle, more sophisticated angle. And I like that that's the impact. So now, for example, when I hear Deuteronomy 23, 15, and 16 brought up, where it talks about if a slave runs away, he's not to be returned to his master. When I initially, heard that online, it was always, well, that ends slavery right there, because if any slave runs away, then you can't return him. Now, it's like it's understood that most scholars view that as a foreign slave, or as a slave escaping from a foreign land into Israel, and you can't return that slave. And that changes the dynamic of the argument completely, really, because it's very specific. It's for a very specific purpose. And so now I don't really hear all that often those arguments. And when I do, the people that I've interacted with, helped, whatever, very quickly they can say, whoa, let's talk about this, because Raymond Westbrook would argue that this is actually about a foreign slave. So I think that's neat, and I hope that ultimately what comes about is that we continue to have and continue to build these meaningful conversations. And I say this in the conclusion. I mentioned you guys, and I know you know that, but there's a paragraph about you guys in the summary or the conclusion, because I think that's what the Atheist Network Group does, right? You guys are very big on building bridges, bringing in people that differ, but doing so in a way that, look, let's leave all the rhetoric out. At least let's try to set aside our biases, and let's just look at the data, right? What are scholars saying? What are the data points that they all deal with? And what are the interpretive models that best account for those data? And if we can do that, I think everybody's going to change. Everybody's going to have a more nuanced view. So we won't be arguing things like, oh, Exodus 21, 20 to 21 is a manual. It's intended to be a manual for how to get away with beating your slave within an inch of their life. Like, that's not what that is, right? And it doesn't need to be that in order for you to make your point. And so I think nuancing on both sides is really useful. And it helps us, I think, have genuine conversations. There are always going to be people that are out to just cause trouble, right? And whether they're well-intentioned or not, they're trying to generate more heat than light. And I don't know that there's a lot of hope for those people in these conversations, but most of the people that I see interacting are doing so in at least a more or less honest way. And they're holding on tightly to their biases, but I think they're doing so honestly. And so I think this is a good way to sort of challenge those ideas, challenge our ideas, and hopefully walk away moving a step or two forward in the discussion.
Absolutely. No. Thank you for sharing that. Like I said, that was after a couple of the other interviews that I heard, I was like, oh man, I'm glad nobody else followed up with that question, because now I'm going to. because I remember thinking I was going to be a world changer. Like everybody told me as a Christian to be a world changer, and all of that. And now a world changer to me as an atheist is I'm just going to make an impact right where I'm at.
There's a funny story. When I went to Capital Bible Seminary, I was the head security. I was in charge of security for the campus because of my extensive military background in the Air Force. And
I love the way you said that.
Thank you. And I had my office is a little office in the mail room. It was like attached to the mail room. So it was the only office they had available. And I remember there was a young lady that worked in there, and she was very excited. She was in college at Washington Bible College. And she was just very bubbly, but like very excited and very outgoing. And she called security one time because she saw somebody walking around on the campus, and it's just outside of DC, so we had to think about that sort of stuff. And so I went and took her statement, and she said, yeah, he's walking around outside. And man, I saw him and I said, man, I know he ain't no world changer. Because that was the motto for this school, changing the world, being a world changer. Man, I know he wasn't no world changer.
I know you know what did.
And it was so funny. It was hard to hold it together. Okay, all right,
I feel like back to back we need to put. I know he ain't no world changer. Catch me outside. How about that?
Catch me outside. How about that? Oh man.
All right. Well,
what she means by that is that she would like you to meet her outside to fight.
Yes.
Isn't that what her mother did in that interview? Like.
Yep. And then Dr. Phil on his typical rant. Are you stupid or something? Are you stupid or something? You need to be real with yourself. But anyway, before we open up for Q&A or phone calls, I do want to say that Dr. Josh gave us a perfect segue into our event here in coming up in October. But I need to do this before because it's not going to make any sense afterwards. We did. I'm getting ready to add probably three or four more designs to our merch store tomorrow. But this is the first one in Dave Warnock. This is a tribute. This is a tribute to you because Dave Warnock is a part of this monthly show here at the Atheist Network Group, Whiskey, Scotch, and Cigars. And that is now in the store, and it's available, and I've got mine on the way. That's probably one of my favorite ones. But thank you. Big shout out to Biddy Buddha. The new designs you're going to see coming out here in the next day or two all are via Biddy Buddha. She's a goddamn beast. I didn't even know she did that shit, but Biddy's a goddamn beast. So if you need that shit, hit her up. But the segue that I was going to talk about, Dr. Josh, real quick, is this the right one? Nope, not the right one. So we'll just talk about it because I can't find the right graphic. But on October 9th and 10th, all of our marketing materials will be finalized at the beginning of this week. We have a conference call tomorrow afternoon to get everything done and settled. But we're having the first Atheist Network Group conference or meet up or whatever you guys want to call it. But what we're calling it is better. We're calling it better. And Dr. Josh said that earlier when he was talking about conversations, is having better conversations. And this entire convention, conference, meeting, whatever, is focused on how do we make each other better as humans through having better conversations. And through those better conversations, how do we make our everyday relationships better? Marriages, friendships, even with our children, coworkers, things like that. Then how do we impact our community? How do we make our community better through having better conversations, whether it be religion, politics, social issues, equality issues, whatever it is? How do we get better? And then hopefully, and then this is, when you start dreaming big, and when you really are, you've been told you can be a world changer globally, you can make that impact. That if we just have better conversations and we learn how to listen first and speak last, if we can learn that, and be able to seek to understand people's positions, that can make everyone and everything better. But Dr. Josh is one of our speakers that is going to be there and speaking. We have one or two that I'm waiting to get the 100% commitment on. But I know we have Dr. Josh, we have Anthony Magnabosco, we have David Warnock, we have T-Jump, we have Cynthia McDonald, and I believe Mike is coming. Not Pastor Mike. I'm sorry. I hope he can. Now that we changed dates, I hope Pastor Mike can be there. But Mike's last name is slipping me right a second. But his channel name is Good Reason is the name of his YouTube channel. But we're gonna have amazing speakers. But Dr. Josh, before we open it up, how do you feel about better in the event and our first time doing it?
Yeah, I mean, my wife is a Christian, right? And Megan and I have an amazing relationship, and it's never stifled. It's never held back, problematic at all, because of the fact that I don't believe in God and she does. I think the reason for that is respect, right? I respect the hell out of her, and she respects me. And so I know that she has a good reason to believe that, the way that she does. And she knows that I have a good reason to believe the way that I do. And that's it, right? And I think that we need to start there in these conversations. Even people that I'm thinking of right now that get on my nerves here online, they're not stupid people, right? They believe what they believe.
Like sleep with Dr. Josh if
What the? What?
Oz looks like a bobblehead.
What happened? What just happened?
This is like those moments where Skylar and I would be on the show and then he'd suddenly drop out. It'd just be me up on the screen.
Oh, I won't do that to you. I won't do it.
Right. Sorry. So they're not stupid people, right? They know why they believe what they believe. Now, they may not know it or have thought about it in the way that maybe we want them to think about it and challenge themselves in the way that we want them to. And they probably thinking the same things about us. But the reality is that I respect the people that I engage with, even when I think their behavior is bad. And when I say that, what I mean is I don't go into these conversations thinking, what a moron, right? If he could just know what I know, he'll change his mind. But he's, I think that's a bad way to go about this from both sides. I think the way that we go about this is the conversation that I had with Michael Brown a couple years ago about slavery. One of the best conversations I've had, one of the best debates that I've had on social media. And the reason that it was so good is because he respected me and I respected him. And obviously, Dr. Brown and I don't agree on everything. And we didn't agree on the topic that we were debating. But we found a lot of common ground, actually. And that's a really great place to start. What is it that we think the text says? Where do we agree? Where do we disagree? And then we move from there. But the whole time I'm thinking, this is a very intelligent man. He's very well trained. I think he went to New York University to study Near Eastern, got a degree, PhD in Near Eastern studies, I think. I mean, he's well trained, right? He's not an idiot. That's the point. And just because I disagree with him doesn't mean that he's dumb. Like, it's just such a weird way to come at things. So I think being better, not only with the argumentation that we have and being better equipped and knowing the context of the Bible and the context of the passages that we're describing, but it's better also in the sense of thinking better of our opponents, thinking better of the people that we're engaging with.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it comes down to respect. Like, we can disagree.
Yeah.
But let's find the ability to have a common respect amidst the disagreement, and I think we get a lot. I think we get a lot further in that format. But the rabbit hole. What's up? What's up? Thanks for joining us, Sean Alexandre. And then I just want to say, Dragons in Genesis podcast. If you're not familiar, go check it out. Because why? Because why? Because why? Here's why. Hashtag Jesus is a myth. Jesus is a myth. So just let him know. Jason, just let him know. AK, what up? What up?
I don't know how much this is going to screw you up. Megan just texted and said, "Are you almost done? Are you almost done?" I think she's really struggling with the twins.
Yeah, no, we can look. No, I love you and I love Megan, and we can be done right now. So
I'm sorry. I feel like that's throwing a wrench into things.
No. Stop it. Everybody here is cool. Like you, dude, you got twins, bro. You got twins. You and your wife got twins. So if anybody gets pissed, I'll fuck their shit up. Right? I'll fuck their shit up. So one last time, I'll say it, and you tell everybody to go. This is Dr. Joshua, but we're gonna do a really quick microwave version. This is the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament by Dr. Joshua Bowen, the sexy guy on the screen. But Dr. Josh, give him a really, really brief version of what it is and where to go, and I'll put the link on there, and then we'll wrap this shit up so you can take care of your family.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. If you've ever been in the debate with a Christian apologist and you've brought up something that you think is problematic in the Bible, and they say, "Do you know the context of that passage?" That's what this book is for. This book is to arm you with what you need to be able to say, "Yes, I do, and I know about the narrative. I know about the story. I know where we are. I know what Exodus is about. I know what Leviticus is about. I know if I'm in the book of Joshua, I know what's going on. Second Chronicles, I'm with you. Like, I know where we are in the story." And yeah, I know when you cite that archaeological record, from the early 20th century, that it's not in any way up to date or authoritative. So I understand how archaeology works, and I understand how to analyze what people say about archaeological material. I understand the ancient Near East and the history behind it. And so with all of those broad things behind the narrative of the Bible, where you are when you read a story and talk about a story, the history of the ancient Near East, so what we actually know about the periods under investigation, and then the archaeological, the means to understand the archaeological data. Once you have those three things, then the rest of the book gives you specific hot button issues. So volume 1 has slavery, the dating of the book of Daniel, did Moses write the Pentateuch, and the prophecy against Tyre in Ezekiel 26. The second volume is going to have more information about those first 3 general things, history and culture and, archaeological background, that sort of thing. But it'll talk about the main hot button topics will be like genocide and violence, homosexuality, the Exodus and the conquest accounts, women's rights, abortion, rape, all those things will be in there, and a couple more that I can't remember right now. So,
well,
hopefully it's worth it.
I'm going to make sure that Megan is a huge fan of Oz. I'm going to kick you off here in a second and make you go and do that, because I know you're going to try to feel guilty and all that. But before you go, I want to make sure you see 2 things. Super chat $19.99 from Donna. Thank you very, very much for that. And Sean Alexandre said, "Oh, there's a book." Yes, and if Dr. Josh didn't have twinsies and family and all that, I would do the whole gimmick right now, but I'm not. And Dragons of Genesis for $4.99 says, "I'm currently reading the book. Highly recommend it."
Thank
you, Jason, for that. And thanks for hanging out with us. And I'm going to kick you off here in a second, Dr. Josh. But I want to tell you publicly, I love the book, and I'm still working as my ADHD brain. I'm working my way through it. I'm getting through it, but I love it, and I love all the feedback I've heard about it. I know you do too. You little top selling author. You little top selling author. You guy. And now you're hanging out with Wu-Tang and all that shit. But I do. I love your brother. I appreciate you. And please go take care of the wife.
Thank you, awesome.
The kids and everything. I love you, man.
All right, man. Thanks again.
Peace out, brother.
See ya.
And as Dr. Josh goes, I'll only be on here for a second because we will direct everything to Discord because I know you don't want to look at this ugly mug for too long by itself. Dr. Josh is on Tang. Did he go Christian Ox? There's some nights I wonder if you're drunk. If I wonder you're drunk. But Sean Alexandre, I'm glad you purchased the book. You'll love it. I'm not all the way through it because I keep going back and forth. Not back and forth, but like I'll read and I'm like, oh man, I need to go back. I don't think I fully understood that, and I keep going back, and that's why it takes me 3 years to get through a book. But one last time before we jump off, and Sean Alexandre already made me aware now that the company I hired to take care of this shit is not taking care of the sizes, but I'll try to have that done tonight, if not by the end of business tomorrow. We have the new design, designed by no other than Biddy Buddha, the Atheist Network Group's whiskey, scotch, and cigars. That's the episode we do once a month. And the main co-host on there is Dave Warnock, and I'm going to get him a shirt for free to wear live when we do that. We got some other badass shirts coming up here. And then last thing I will plug is October 9th and 10th in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Put it in your calendars. The ticket prices and all that should be out. I'm pushing hard for the first of the week. Yeah, I'll say that. But put those in your calendars, and we're gonna have awesome, amazing speakers. What I've heard so far is most of the TANG crew will be there. So you have the TANG crew, and we're going to do an AMA session, and then some of the TANG crew will have sessions that they speak. You know, they're the main speaker, but we have guest speakers that are coming in, and like Dr. Josh, Anthony Magnabosco, Dave Warnock, Cynthia McDonald, and I'm like I said, I'm missing names because everything is running together right now. But you want to be there. You want to be there, and the name of the event again is better. How do we have better conversations? How do we make all each of us together, whether we agree or disagree on a belief or political views or social views, how do we make our society, our surroundings better by having better conversations? Yeah, so that's all I got. We were going to do a Q&A, but I want to and will always respect people's family time, kids, especially when there's newborns involved. And again, one last time before we go, congratulations to Dr. Josh and Megan on their beautiful twin babies. And I'm very, very happy that they're home and healthy with them. And I know how tiring it is being a parent of one infant. To do that times two all at once, I may have found the nearest bridge, and just that's I got mad love, mad respect for them. I don't know if I could do it. But we'll be going to the Discord next. We could chop it up, and I already told Josh once all is well. If he wants to pop in there, he's more than welcome. But I will see you guys there in a minute. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And we should see today's Saturday. Yeah, we should see Just Jeff the Trolley one with the ATL call-in show tomorrow night at 9 p.m.
Turn it up. What up? Yeah. Grab your chair, put up a seat, yeah. Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. We just the dudes that you knew for poking holes in all these fables. Yeah. See, we just some atheists that got questions like, why does God kill babies with cancer? Hopefully, you can bring some answers. We'll sit back and take notes. Go ahead. Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. Welcome to the Atheist Round Table. Okay. Turn it up.